There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrant.
Hydrants in that area ran dry.
Water not coming out, the pressure so low.
Demand being too much on the fire hydrant system.
The hydrants aren't working.
Residents using garbage cans, buckets, anything they can get.
During the most devastating fire LA has ever seen.
Experts are calling this the most destructive fire in all of LA history.
And they all said we haven't seen anything like this.
Our fire hydrants didn't work.
Firefighters were faced with empty fire hydrants.
That's insane. And I wanted to find out how this could happen and who's responsible. On January 7th at 10:30 a.m., a small 20-acre fire broke out in the Pacific Palisades. And the next thing you know, by January 12th, over 30,000 acres had burned, 10,000 structures destroyed, 24 Angelenos dead, and it's still not over. Los Angeles is on fire. Every year we experience the Santa Ana winds, which are vicious winds that come and go, cause some trouble, keep you up at night, and dirty up your yard. We had never seen the Santa Ana winds like this.
The winds were so ferocious that it was carrying embers hundreds of yards or even a mile and a half ahead of the actual fire.
100-mile-an-hour gusts caused fires to spread at 500 yards per minute and prevented the use of air support. Within hours, we saw normal fires turn into raging infernos that we still have not caught. And the estimated damage is at $250 billion right now. We were caught off guard. Bad. Because in the heat of the battle, our fire hydrants didn't work. How the hell can that even happen? And somehow we ran out of water because Gavin Newsom would rather protect some fish.
The fish are now swimming freely for the first time in over 100 years.
There's a lot to unpack here, but by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's going on with the water in this state. And I think most of you will be shocked with what you learn. So first we have to understand where the hydrants get the water from. Typically, individual cities have an entire water infrastructure, which is a full system for storing, treating, and dispersing water to the city. They store water in reservoirs and tanks, and they disperse the water through a network of pressurized pipes and pumps to businesses, homes, and hydrants. So the Pacific Palisades is a neighborhood in the city of Los Angeles, which means that water system is managed by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, or LADWP, which is one of the best flowing acronyms of all time. That water system in the Palisades has 4 main water reserves, 3 tanks that hold 1 million gallons each, and a massive 117 million gallon reservoir, which means in the event of a wildfire, these are their sources of water. So on January 7th at 10:30 a.m., this fire started out at 20 acres. By 5:30 p.m., it had grown to 1,200 acres. And 10 hours after that, this fire was at 3,000 acres, which meant over 1,800 firefighters were deployed, which also meant over 200 fire tankers were using this fire hydrant system. As it is with this much demand, with this many fire hydrants all pulling from the same source, a loss of water pressure is inevitable. So at 3 a.m., each of those million-gallon tanks had already been depleted, and the giant 117 million gallon reservoir had been emptied months in advance for maintenance, which meant in the middle of the night, not only did the firefighters lose water pressure, but they had used the entire water supply and they ran out of water. It's the middle of the night and firefighters are battling a fire hurricane, the greatest opponent they'd ever seen, and all of a sudden, the water stopped. The winds were causing the fire to grow at a rate of 500 yards per minute, and by the end of that day, over 20,000 acres had burned and thousands of homes were destroyed. Now, I bet some of you are wondering, what if that reservoir wasn't empty? Would they have still lost water pressure? Would they have been able to save the day? Would they have run out of water at all? Who knows? Well, actually this guy knows. The former manager at LADWP said, would Santa Ynez Reservoir have helped? Yes, to some extent. Would it have saved the day? I don't think so. And I think that's even worse, because that means at full capacity, we would have still run out of water and thousands of homes would have been destroyed. We've never seen a firestorm quite like this one, and it's revealed a massive vulnerability, that our water infrastructure is inadequate. The Palisades has a water infrastructure that's designed to take care of the residential and commercial needs of the community, as well as some emergencies like a house fire or even a building fire or two. But it's clear to see now that 3 tanks and a reservoir are no match for a raging inferno. That same former manager at LADWP said, we're looking at a situation that is just completely not part of any domestic water system design. This is the traditional municipal water infrastructure, and it stands no chance against the firestorm. The worst part is that this is how most of LA is set up. So the fact that the hydrants went dry in the Palisades has nothing to do with the fact that the hydrants went dry in Altadena as well. That's a whole separate water infrastructure with its own reservoirs and tanks. Those two, with a lot of demand on the system, lost water pressure and eventually ran out of water. This system that was designed 100 years ago with the purpose of fulfilling the needs of a community is no match for the modern day disaster. So we know cities have a finite supply of water that are stored in these reservoirs and tanks. My next question is, if these reservoirs run out of water, why can't we just refill them? Well, that begs the question, where do these cities get their water from? In SoCal, we have three main sources of water. About 30% is from groundwater, which is pumped from the earth and used to fill certain reservoirs. The other two main sources of water are from the San Joaquin Delta and the Colorado River. These are the two main sources of water for California. They're really important. The water is brought down to us with the State Water Project and the Colorado Aqueduct. Like I said, these are the two main sources for a lot of the state. Our Colorado reservoirs are struggling to stay at 36% capacity, and the State Water Project is forecasted to fulfill only 10% of the demand for water in 2024. Water is and forever has been a very scarce resource in California, which is why it's methodically allocated to various regions in the state. So when these city reservoirs run out of water, there isn't just an infinite supply of water that can instantly fill them. But even besides that, most reservoirs get filled at a rate of 2 feet per day to prevent damaging the pipes, which means this would take far too long anyway. So now let's talk about these water sources and why people are upset with Gavin Newsom. The San Joaquin Delta is where a lot of rivers and freshwater sources converge before they spill out into the ocean. Like I said, we direct a lot of water from here down the State Water Project to Southern California. There's also Central Water Project here that supplies Central California with water. Fresh water flows in and pours out into the ocean. The amount of water that we're allowed to direct down these projects is very specific, because if we direct more water than we're supposed to, the flow of fresh water would decrease and salt water would start to intrude from the ocean. If salt water got into this delta, three things would happen. The first is that the population of fish in this delta, which are salmon and the famous smelt, would die.
They talk about the delta smelt, which is a fish that's this big.
Now, if this was the end of the ultimatum, I think everyone would agree. Fuck the fish.
It is really not. Doesn't have to be protected.
But it's not that simple. These fish in this delta are at the bottom of the food chain for a massive ecosystem. If they were to die out, their predators would lose the food source. They too would end up suffering and possibly die out. And so on up the food chain until this whole ecosystem is affected. And when ecosystems are wiped out and affected, there are huge economic repercussions. Number two, if saltwater were to get into this delta, it would ruin the soil surrounding it, which would make it not usable for farming and possibly ruin the integrity of the soil holding the structures that sit on it. California is the top agricultural state in the country, and it's a massive pillar to our economy, something that we cannot risk ruining. Lastly, but most importantly, if saltwater got into this delta, it would make the water not usable for drinking and everyday use, which means we would have to desalinate it, and that could be very expensive and further lessen the supply of water. Honestly, I don't know if it's a viable option or not, but it seems like a really complex situation and not such an easy decision. But that doesn't even matter, because the point is, even if we had an infinite supply of water, we know that our infrastructure is not built to instantly fill city reservoirs. And even if that wasn't a problem, we know that our municipal infrastructure is not built to handle that much water hydrant demand. And even if that wasn't a problem, we know that water hoses are no match for a fire spreading at 500 yards per minute, especially when they don't have air support to back it up. In my opinion, Gavin Newsom has ruined this state in multiple ways. By incentivizing crime,
Proposition 47, which reclassified certain offenses,
creating the insurance crisis,
many homeowners have struggled to get insurance in recent months, as many companies have stopped offering policies here,
and not taking wildfire preventative measures.
Gotta take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important.
But is he responsible specifically for the water hydrants being dry? Not really. It's just that he's messed up so many other things, we're looking for any and all reasons to get him out of office. The fact of the matter is that this is an unprecedented disaster that we are totally not prepared for. So were the fire hydrants being dry caused by mismanagement? You could say that LADWP messed up by leaving that massive reservoir in the Palisades empty, because that's a main water source for a neighborhood that's very susceptible to wildfires during wildfire season. But ultimately, no, it wasn't caused by mismanagement. The problem is that our infrastructure is outdated. We would have run out of water anyway. You could say that it's the job of our governor, our mayor, our water department, or whoever to recognize the situation and say, hey guys, if we get caught in a bad situation with the wind, we're gonna be screwed. We can't handle massive wildfires. And we know for a fact that there was mismanagement of wildfire precautions, fires that were started because of the crime crisis, an insurance crisis that's just getting started, fire department budgets that were just cut.
But was the budget cut?
Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service.
Looters preying on distraught families, and so many other things, all caused by our government that we'll get into later. I don't know what the solution is right now. Maybe we need to buy fire retardant ready to douse our houses in the event of an evacuation. Maybe we need to buy sprinkler systems. Whatever it is, it's gotta be something new, because trying to fix this outdated chain of infrastructures seems like a moot point. That same former manager at LEDWP said, if this is going to be a norm, there's going to have to be some new thinking about how systems are designed. I find it mind-boggling that one of the biggest cities in the world does not have the infrastructure to handle the most probable disaster that would occur. Like, we don't get tornadoes, we don't get hurricanes, we get earthquakes here and there, but fires are our thing. We get fires, goddammit. How are we not prepared for this? All I know is that California is home to Silicon Valley, the most innovative region in the entire world, and we have the biggest economy in the entire nation. If our government is not able to protect us, maybe we have to get other people involved who can. My name is Michael Manassian, and I'm a real estate broker here in Los Angeles. I want to know your thoughts about this water situation, so let me know in the comment section below, and subscribe to see the rest of these topics broken down. I'll see you in the next one.